I'm calling for consideration of business motion 20538 in the name of Graham Day on behalf of the Parliamentary Bureau, and it sets out revisions to this week's business. If there is any member who wishes to speak against the motion, please press your request to speak button. I now call on Graham Day to move the motion.
Moved, Presiding Officer.
Thank you. No member has asked to speak against the motion. Therefore, the question is that motion number 20538 be agreed. Are we all agreed? Yes. The motion is therefore agreed. And we'll move on to the next item of business. The next item of business is topical questions, and I'll try to get as many supplementaries in as possible. Question number 1, Liam Kerr.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its response is to the Chief Constable's recent remarks to the Scottish Police Authority regarding the Police Scotland budget.
Hamza Yousaf.
Before answering the substance of Liam Kerr's question, may I put on record my and the Government's condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of Officer PC Lynch, who lost his life late on Sunday night, and also because today, of course, is also the funeral of PC Natalie Faulds, a young officer who also tragically lost her life a few weeks ago. May I also offer the Government's condolences to her family, her friends and the wider police family on these two losses. In terms of the question from Liam Kerr, the annual budget for policing has increased by over 80 million since 2016-17, bringing the budget to over 1.2 billion in 1920. This includes a 12 million increase in capital funding, which was focused on the introduction of mobile devices to frontline officers. Despite constraints in Scotland's public services through a decade of UK austerity, the Scottish Government has worked with Police Scotland and the Police Authority to maintain and improve policing services, including providing significantly more officers than at any other time before 2007, with current officer numbers standing at 17,256. That is 1,022 more officers than we inherited in March, while of course in England and Wales that number has reduced by 20,000. Discussions around Scotland's budget for 2020-2021 continue. We will, however, continue to ensure Scotland's police service is supported to keep people and communities safe, as well as pursuing the UK Government to ensure it meets its full costs of EU exit and of hosting COP26. We'll continue to press them to pay back the £125 million of VAT paid by Police Scotland before the Treasury reversed this unfair policy in 2018.
Liam Kerr.
Presiding Officer, the Chief Constable was utterly scathing about the Scottish Government's funding of Police Scotland. The Cabinet Secretary referenced capital funding. Well, Police Scotland's capital funding has already been cut to the bone. In the words of the Chief Constable, it is derisory, leaving facilities unmaintained, vehicles unreplaced and police numbers in jeopardy. Is it not the case, Presiding Officer, that if the Scottish Government had only taken 100 million out of the budget instead of 200 million, Police Scotland would have a balanced budget by now? And will the Cabinet Secretary, at the very least, give in to our demands and give Police Scotland the £50 million they need to maintain officer numbers?
Hamza Yousaf.
Can I just, again, for wider context, make sure that Liam Kerr understands the investment that we've put into the police? Our investment, of course, of real terms, protection of the police budget, a 52% increase in the capital budget. That has meant 1,000 more police officers in Scotland versus a 20,000 cut in officers in England and Wales. Crime rates remain in Scotland at one of their lowest. In Scotland, we have 32 police officers per head versus 23 police officers per head in England and Wales. The UK Government stole 125 million out of policing, and you're asking us to put 50 million back in. If he really wants to be helpful, he could use that enormous influence that he has with his UK Government colleagues to get them at the stroke of a pen to reverse that decision and give us that 125 million back. And while he's at it, will he ask them to give us the £200 million that Police Scotland have demanded and asked for in order to cover a UK Government-hosted event that is COP26? Because they've already having to spend money, they're already having to use resource, and by the way, they've not seen a single copper penny from the UK Government. So if he really wants to be helpful, he can get onto the phone onto his friends in Westminster and ask for some of the money they've stolen from Police Scotland and ask them to return it back.
Liam Kerr.
No answer at all to the Chief Constable, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, the Cabinet Secretary has clearly put some work into his defence and his obfuscation. If only he gave the same attention to our police officers. Cabinet Secretary references crime rates. Presiding Officer, under the SNP, crime has been rising for the last 2 years and violent crime for the last 4 years. This SNP government keeps asking our brave policemen and women to deal with increasing crime with fewer resources. The Cabinet Secretary must surely accept that that is now totally unsustainable. Cabinet Secretary, when will our police officers be able to say that they are working from and with an estate that is fit for purpose?
Hamza Yousaf.
You know, I really struggle to take lessons from Liam Kerr on this. We awarded our police officers, if you want to talk about what we've done for police officers, we gave them a 6.5% pay award compared to a derisory 2% pay award in England and Wales. And the question I have for Liam Kerr is if his demand is for the Finance Secretary to put £50 million towards policing, if that £50 million is put towards policing, will he say right now that he will vote for that Scottish Government budget? I suspect the answer is obfuscation, no answer, equivocation to that question. And what I'll also say to Liam Kerr, when he talks about crime rates, we have one of the lowest crime rates in over 4 decades. The VRU, the Violence Reduction Unit, which is being hailed in places like London and right across England and Wales as a success story, is doing some phenomenal work. Whereas, of course, we saw last week's statistics showing in England and Wales that they had the highest knife crime incidents in the last 10 years. So he'll forgive me if I don't take any lessons from him in terms of crime rates. What I would say to him is just to answer that one question, if that £50 million is put towards policing, will he vote for the budget?
I have 2 supplementaries that I wish to take. If we could have shorter answers, please, Cabinet Secretary. Rona Mackay.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The tax plans outlined by Conservative leadership candidate Jackson Carlaw would take £270 million from the Scottish budget, according to the Fraser of Allender Institute. Does the Cabinet Secretary agree that Liam Kerr, as Jackson Carlaw's campaign manager, might want to reflect on the impact their tax plans would have on Police Scotland, on the Police Scotland budget, before raising this in the Chamber today?
Hamza Yousaf.
Well, of course, Liam Kerr is very fond, I'm sure, of the work of the independent Fraser of Allender Institute and quoting them on regular occasion. And there they are, coming with the analysis that Jackson Carlaw's tax plans would take £270 million out of the Scottish budget. And yet he's expecting us to spend more on policing. Of course, I'll continue my discussions with the Finance Secretary about the Justice budget, but it looks like to me, from all the tax plans of the man that he wants to see leader, he's going to have to borrow Labour's magic money tree sometime soon.
James Kelly.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. It's not just the number of frontline police officers, but it's the conditions that they're having to work in. The Scottish Police Federation reports that 25% of police stations are in poor condition. And David Hamilton of the SPF tweeted a video of a police station in Paisley where water was leaking in through a roof. Does the Cabinet Secretary accept that it's completely unacceptable that some of our police stations are falling apart, and what action will be taken in the budget to ensure that we have a police estate that's fit for purpose?
I think, hyperbole by describing police stations as falling apart is unhelpful. I don't doubt that the Scottish Police Federation, have a job to do, particularly pre-budget, in order to try to do what they can to ensure that there's a maximum amount of resource coming to police. They wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't do that. What I would say to James Kelly and to finance colleagues in Scottish Labour would be to engage positively in the budget on this. I mean, when he was Finance Secretary, before he got moved to Justice, of course, he never asked for further money for Justice. In fact, no proposal came forward from Labour when it came to policing in Scotland. In fact, all they suggested was a 3% cut to every department, including Justice. So you'd have asked for a 3% cut, let alone additional money. So we've continued to invest in policing, including in the capital budget, which has seen a 52% increase, and we'll continue to look at any proposals put forward by Police Scotland for the budget.
Question number 2, Liam Mackay.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government what discussions it has had with Highlands and Islands Airports Limited regarding the announcement of plans to centralise air traffic control services.
Michael Matheson.
The Scottish Government has regular discussions with HIAL about how best to ensure a long-term sustainable future for air services in the Highlands and Islands. Decisions were made and announced by HIAL early in 2018 to modernise air traffic control, with a key feature being the establishment of a central surveillance centre rather than retaining individual towers at each airport. This decision, which is one part of a wider programme, was based on independent analysis of the different options available and careful consideration by HIAL and its board. Both we and HIAL are clear that this is a major change, both technically and personally, for the staff involved, and its success will depend upon continued engagement with staff, airlines and the Civil Aviation Authority. Forthcoming regulatory changes and the general shift in the industry away from more traditional ATC procedures mean that doing nothing is not an option. The option chosen by HIAL, after very careful consideration, embraces new technology, future-proofs operations, improves safety and will benefit the communities served by the airports involved.
Liam MacArthur.
Thank you. Operating air traffic services across the Highlands and Islands via a remote tower in Inverness was identified by HIAL's own independent consultants, Helios, as the riskiest and costliest option. Helios identified alternative options that would achieve the much-needed modernisation at a fraction of the cost or risk. Despite that, HIAL has spent over 2 years ploughing ahead while also ignoring serious concerns being voiced by their own staff. Does the Cabinet Secretary honestly believe that this project can be delivered with 82% of HIAL's ATC staff stating they will leave the organisation should it continue down this path? And will the Cabinet Secretary, even at this late stage, call a halt to enable a proper islands impact assessment to be carried out, given the significant implication of these plans for Lifeline air services as well as employment in our 3 main island communities?
Michael Matheson.
Presiding Officer, the priority for HIAL was to make sure they chose the best option in order to help to sustain and support the modernisation of air traffic control services at HIAL Airport. Of course, any new approach that's taken to the delivery of air traffic control services at HIAL airports will have to be approved by the Civil Aviation Authority, who are the safety experts in assessing these matters, and they're the regulator that will have to consider any changes that are being introduced by HIAL when they take the programme forward. In relation to Mr MacArthur's also wider reference to employment on the island communities, one of the key aspects of the changes which are necessary around air traffic control is to recognise the regulatory changes which are taking place, but also to address issues of resilience at the existing facilities which will have controlled airspace. And the new centralised surveillance model will provide a greater level of resilience than we have at the present moment, or would be provided with any of the other models that were considered. Additionally, Presiding Officer, I can confirm to the member that HIAL do intend to undertake an island impact assessment in line with the legislation and the Islands Act, and they will be undertaking that work in the coming months.
Liam MacArthur.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I at least welcome the latter part of that response. But as one local ATC staff member in Orkney told me earlier this week, HIAL's plans offer no additional safety benefits over the options available, while introducing serious additional risks, including a complete reliance on an IT infrastructure that no one who lives in the Highlands and Islands believes can be delivered for anything like the costs being quoted. But the time reality catches up with the rhetoric and assertions being made by HIAL, or that CAA has any involvement in the process at all, millions will have been wasted and staff will have voted with their feet. Can the Cabinet Secretary therefore guarantee Parliament that Orkney's Lifeline air services and those across the region will not face major disruption as a result of this remote tower project? And will he at the very least look again at the phasing of the project to provide breaks that would allow independent assessments to be made of the technology before any final decisions are taken to close air traffic control services at Kirkwall or other airports across the network?
Michael Matheson.
Of course, I expect HIAL to continue to engage with the staff and the trade unions in the way in which they have over the course of the last 2 years on this matter. And I, from the discussions I've had with HIAL, they've been very clear with me that they intend to continue to make sure that they continue with that engagement, the staff and also with interested stakeholders. I think it's also worth keeping in mind the views of others within the aviation industry. For example, I was struck by the comments that were made by Jonathan Hinkles, who is the Chief Executive of Loganair, when he said that Loganair's view, and I quote, Loganair's view is that the technological improvements and airspace changes will enhance safety, and we see no credible safety-based argument against the remote ATC proposals. He went on to say, and I quote, having seen the remote ATC technology in action, I can confidently say that it represents a quantum leap forward from what we have today in relation to safety. There are a number of airports across Europe and also in North America that use this particular technology, Presiding Officer. What is important here, though, is I recognise with a significant change of this nature, there's a need for HIAL to remain engaged with local communities, to provide them with the assurances which they require, and I'll certainly be making sure that HIAL continue to undertake that work in the months ahead.
I am not able to take all the requested supplementaries. One from Rhoda Grant.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Cabinet Secretary says that HIAL have engaged with their staff and with their local communities. Can I reassure him that that is not the case? That they need to speak to the specialists they have on their own payroll. They are totally ignored, their concerns are not being listened to, and there is not connectivity. This is just another vanity project that's going to cost a huge amount of money and actually provide less service and damage our island and rural economies at the same time.
Michael Matheson.
Presiding Officer, I think taking forward an approach which will enhance safety in air traffic control systems within HIAL airports was not something that could be described as a vanity project. Of course, as I've already outlined, any changes which are introduced will require to be approved by the Civil Aviation Authority to be satisfied that they do meet their very strict safety regulations. But of course, if the member has some very specific points around engagement with local communities that she believes that HIAL should undertake over and above what action has already been taken forward to date, I'd be more than happy to hear from the member, or she can contact the Chair and Chief Executive of HIAL directly to make suggestions on what further actions they could undertake. But I do know and have been provided with a range of details from HIAL on the level of engagement and extent of the engagement which they have undertaken. I do recognise that there will be air traffic control staff at the present moment that will not support the approach that HIAL are taking, which is why it's important that HIAL continue to engage with the staff that are affected and also with their union representatives. And I've impressed on them the need to make sure that that is maintained and, where necessary, is extended as they take this modernisation programme forward.
That concludes topical questions. Apologies to both John Finney and Jamie Halcrow-Johnson. I was unable to take your supplementaries. And can I suggest that those that took part today go away and look up succinct in the dictionary, please?